What is up, everybody out there in the world? We getting ready to jump off into it. Uh, the Way Love Goes podcast starting. We got a little countdown. One, two, three.
Did it start for you? It didn't start for me.
Be in the building with you today. You feel
Hello,
me?
hello,
It
hello,
is
hello.
another awesome Friday. I always
Yes.
want to jump into it and forget to introduce. Maybe this is your first time seeing us. So, hello. Even though my name is right there in the corner, it is me,
Right.
Brother Don Dees, and I'm with my awesome, wonderful co host.
Tierra Monique.
Yes, indeed. We are here. And actually, a couple of updates, y'all. We got an Instagram page. What we sound
Yeah,
old, huh? We
we
done
done,
got just one of them Instagram
we
pages,
done got us
y'all.
in stuff.
We done did it. Tierra Monique done put it together so y'all can jump
I
on there. It ain't
did.
really nothing on there yet, but it will be
We're
real
building.
shortly. We're building right now. So um yeah, man, jump on there and make sure you join that. Make sure you subscribe to this
Yes, yes, yes,
YouTube
yes.
channel. Um what else updates do we got right now? Stay
Um,
tuned. Soon we'll be having new audio of
right,
these episodes on the anchors and Googles and whatnot. So right now you get on there, you're gonna get all of season one, you're gonna get a little bit of season two, but we finna like get it up to date in the
right,
coming weeks. So
right.
you'll be able to enjoy us on the road,
Right.
enjoy us, while you're folding laundry or washing dishes or whatever. That's when I be watching podcasts. Like right now, I think two of the biggest podcasts that I watch is one with Noriega called Drink Champs.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like it's like they do all the hip hop legends like just throughout time
Right.
and big name peoples in music and hip hop and R&B. And then of course, here's the thing with my man Kev on stage and that chick Angel and
Right.
Josh and Bangers and
Here's the thing.
yeah, yeah. So love watching those and we're trying to get there too, guys. So we need
Right.
your help. Uh let's see what's our list of shameless plugs. Share. Yeah, it's
Like,
going.
share,
Yeah, like,
like,
share.
share, subscribe, comment to the Way Love Goes podcast. And like he said, we do have a Instagram page now, so it's the Way Love Goes Pod, not
Hmm.
podcast, but pod. So the Way Love Goes Pod on Instagram, and so you'll be able to see everything that we've been posting on our personal pages. You can
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah, yeah.
on our Instagram page. And so don't forget to tell all your family, your friends, your mother, your sister, your brother, your enemies, your neighbors,
Hmm.
everybody
Your
about the Way Love
squirrel,
podcast. All right,
whatever.
right, everybody, so we can help share and push along how to navigate this thing called love, and get in the
Hmm.
algorithm of the love podcast on like Anchor and Apple and Google and Spotify and Stitcher and all those good stuff. So yes,
Yeah,
don't forget
yeah,
to do
yeah,
all
yeah,
that and
yeah.
give us a 5-star rating so we can start getting put in, on
Right,
the
man.
list. So yeah.
Yes. Come on, man. We need them 5-star ratings because either
Yeah.
it's actually true, which it is, or it's a prophecy of where we're headed.
Right, right.
So you're not lying.
You're not
All right.
lying. We are
You're
five
just putting
stars.
it. You're just putting it into the atmosphere,
Exactly,
putting it
exactly.
into the yeah, putting the vibes out, putting it into the
Right.
universe. All
Yes.
right. So we definitely want you to do that. And shoot, man, let's get into this
Get
topic
into
today.
it.
We are today doing, if you were done read the caption, we are doing a book review of Melissa and Kevin Fredricks, otherwise known as Miss Kev on Stage and Kev on
Right.
Stage, who were
Right.
two people that I'm huge fans of,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
we are reviewing their book, Marriage Be Hard, y'all.
Marriage be hard.
Marriage be hard, man, which is just a true statement in and of itself.
Right.
Because life is hard and marriage is part of life. Um, so yeah, but what I wanted to start out with is just getting your initial reactions, man. Like, what did you think of the book overall? Right? We're gonna give it to you. We're gonna give you our review as if you never seen the book. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't, but you're like, man, should I get this book? And we're gonna tell you why you which what we think of it. You know.
Right. So my overview of the book, I think it's a really good book for those who are married and for those who are seeking to get married. So I do think it's a
Mm,
really good book for that. I do think that I like that there are certain parts about the book that I really like. You know,
mm-hmm.
so I would recommend this book. So I would say that. I think if we give it, I think we should start since this is like our second book review. I think we should start doing like
Yeah.
a
Some
5-star type
ratings.
review. Like so,
Yeah.
5 hearts. This is the Way Love Goes podcast. So
Yeah.
a 5
I like
heart
it.
rating,
A
right?
5 heart rating.
5 heart rating.
Yes.
And I know somebody might not like this. I am huge fans of Kevin and Melissa,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, I would give this book 4 hearts.
4
Not
heart.
well, I would give it 4 hearts.
Okay.
Well, maybe 4.5. I would say 4.5.
4.5.
Maybe because
Okay.
I think it's because I heard most of this stuff
Mm-hmm.
already through their so I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I heard this before. But they had some really good stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I listened to it. I would say that I listened to it on Audible. So it's different than if you were reading it. So
Reading it for
maybe
yourself. Mm-hmm.
if I had read it and didn't hear it, then maybe it would have been almost 5. But I would give it 4.5 hearts. So that's that's really high. Like if you're into marriage and you're into or you're dating and you want to get married, I would recommend this book for you to read or listen to.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah. So yeah, this
Yeah. I
being
mean,
their first
everybody
together,
can't be perfect. Yeah. You know.
it can't be perfect. I
Everybody
can't give you
can't be
5,
perfect.
but I can,
You got to have some space
yeah,
for book 2.
I
You
would
get
give
to
it
have something.
4. Yeah, I would give it 4.5. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good listen.
Yeah. I liked a bunch of stuff about it. Let me say some things and then I'll give a rating. Let me see if I agree with you or if I go a different route by the end of this convo. But I like there was a lot of stuff that I liked about it too. As I'm kind of going on my initial thoughts, the first thing that I would say is that it was extremely relatable, right? Just like as they're going
Yes,
through and
yes,
talking about things, like man, there was so many things that Kev said, you know, and I know it's because I guess I appreciate the fact that he's a comedian. I like the experience of listening to it. One, because
yes,
reading
yes.
in me is like you know, I do it when I have to, but if there's any other
Right.
way to consume it, I might do it because I love to be able to do more than one thing at once. It's just like too much going on, you know. So I
Right.
like the experience of listening to it, and I like the experience, especially if people are like Audible, if people like be into doing Audible books, audio books,
Yeah.
and especially Audible.
Yeah.
They always have readers that are not the author, and I hate that
Right.
because I'm like, yeah, well, do you really? Can you? Unless you like sat down and discussed the chapter with the author, like, did you really capture what they were saying? You know,
Right.
so them being
Right.
the ones who read it, I loved that. That experience, I feel like I could trust, you know, how they would deliver it. So I thought that was really, really good. Of course, you know, not being actors like that, like voice, I don't know, book actors, they had some parts where they sounded a little unnatural, but it was more funny, I think, because I'm already a big fan of them. When I hear that, it's like, oh, that's funny.
Right.
But it also enhanced it because the reason why stuff was so relatable, the way Kevin said uh, various things. I was like, yep, I did it exactly that way. That's exactly the situation I was running into myself at that age. Um,
Right.
Also, and I also think because we're not that far, we're like in the same realm of age. You know,
Right.
he's a little younger, but
Right.
we're all in the same age. So I thought that I loved the list Melissa's emotion when she was talking about certain stuff.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
ooh, I
Yes.
could, yeah, I could really, 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 really feel that. Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of specifics. We don't want to spoil the book for you, but we can
Right.
get into some
Right.
specifics later. So,
Right.
yeah, I think initially for me, those were the two things that for me, I was like, oh yeah, this is really good. I love hearing them read it, and because of how they identify with the stuff they were reading, and we have similar life
Right.
experiences, being in church, all that kind of stuff. Very relatable. Very
Right.
relatable. So I'll say for that, just for those elements, that fills up the first heart for me. That fills up the first heart, and we'll
Right.
keep it going. We'll keep it going. Shoot. Any other of your initial reactions?
I laughed a lot. I mean, it was a
Mm,
lot of like because like you said, there was a lot of things that was very relatable. And I know we're gonna get into this a little
yeah.
bit later, but there were a lot of things that was relatable. And I was like, this fool, it was
Yes.
it was I love the fact that they went there, because a lot of couples from faith-based communities, they don't go there. They like talk around stuff, and the fact
Mm,
that they went there. They went there. I was like, thank y'all for going there. Like, thank you for like pushing the envelope and going there and
actually
saying
saying things.
right, say the things, and of course, Kev was doing more of the uh I wouldn't say it's not explicit, but he was doing more of like the actual, as a matter of fact, this is what's happening. Whereas Melissa was more like the mind of it all. And Kev was more like the emotion part of it. So she was the
Yeah.
mind of it, and he was the emotion, and both together is why I gave it a 4.5. I mean, I
Yeah.
probably could have 4.25. Like, what is it? What is it? Remember on Star Search, it was like
Yeah,
four,
yeah, four and
star.
3 star, 3/4 stars or
Right,
whatever they. Yeah.
right,
Oh, she went there,
right.
dude. Y'all don't
It's,
know about no
yeah,
star search. Come
right.
on.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
didn't listening to it on Audible. I didn't skip much, and only reason
Mm,
why I skipped a little is because there were some things that I already heard, and because we were
yeah.
going to review this for the episode, I was like, okay. I already heard that. I can keep going.
Let me
So,
keep rolling. Yeah.
yeah, I can keep rolling. So, but I mean, I listened. I mean, it's 12 chapters, first of all. So
Yeah.
it's what is it? 12 chapters, and if you're listening to an Audible, it is like 4 or 5 hours. four
Yeah.
or five
Yeah.
hours of listening. So I mean, you can
Unless you
get through
speed it
this
up,
book.
you can get through
Yeah,
it in 3.
you can get through this book. You can get through it in a whole day. You can.
Yeah.
If you're driving anywhere, going on vacation, if you are cleaning up the house on a good Saturday and you just turn it on and listen to it, it will get you through your cleaning. It got me through my day today, from
Mm-hmm.
yesterday to today, of being in the car and then working. So yeah, yeah. I like the book. So I like the book.
Yeah, yeah, it was good, man. I think when you were kind of saying how like Melissa and Kev, they're like the emotional and the
Right.
cerebral kind of aspects of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's one thing in general that I appreciate about Melissa. She does a lot of the work that I
Yeah.
probably need to do on my own. Like she does the research, she does
Right.
the analytics behind things. So when
Right.
she's like laying stuff out, it really helps me to be like, oh yeah, because I am I'm like I won't say lazy, but less motivated to go and do that research. But I do appreciate the why of things.
Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah, everybody has been saying for years, do X, Y, Z, but
Right.
why? And then you
Right.
hear,
Right.
so she's good at giving that why. So I really appreciated that as
Right.
well. Let me do a couple other
Just right quick.
generals. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
If you hear a beeping sound in the background, which my supporters who have reached out to me and said, "Girl, what is that beeping in the background?" It
Girl,
is my
that's the
it is my CO2 alarm that has not been replaced by my
right.
maintenance people yet, and so I put in my request. I'm just waiting. So
What black home don't know that beeping sound?
right, so it's not the smoke
Come
alarm
on.
because I made sure it's not the smoke alarm. It is a CO2 alarm. So
Yeah,
the new ones now there you don't put a battery in it. You turn it and you take it off and then you replace it instead of putting in a
oh,
battery. So you have to replace the
okay.
whole thing. So I tried because I was like, maybe I just need to put a new battery in it. And I was like, no, you got to take it off and replace it. So if they don't come by
It ain't for
Monday,
lack of trying, y'all.
I'm gonna have to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get me one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But there you
yeah,
go, y'all.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Little side note.
Yeah, a little side note, a little side note. We got the beeps in there. Yeah. So another thing, kind of general characteristic that I loved about this book is I feel like they went through a good spectrum of aspects of
Yeah.
relationship. From dating to marriage, the communication, wedding night versus vacation sex. Okay, everybody don't be
Right.
thinking about that.
Yep. Yep.
Parenting, career path, fidelity. They even talked about and what was nice about it being like a current thing. They even talked about their pandemic experience. You know,
Right.
and it was a good range of just like, yes, we think about these things for sure.
Right. Right.
Um, or let me say they happen to us and we don't always think about them actually. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
so I like that.
Right.
Melissa's experience growing up as a Christian, like I feel so Kev's too, but the
Yeah.
extremeness of her
Hers. Yes.
struggles, the
Yes. Yes.
fears, that stuff was very relatable.
Yes.
Um, a lot of people probably out that aren't Christian or that grew up kind of like, you know, we go to church, but whatever. We basically doing whatever we want the rest of the week.
Right. Right.
They probably just don't got that feel, that vibe. But when your family and your community like drives these things into you,
Right.
the things that like your internal dialogue, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that is such it's crazy because she was young and doing this thing, and you're thinking this is something that like a 65 and up people are like regulating on you, but no, it's so
Yes.
ingrained. You be
Yes.
doing it to yourself. So I laughed, and she wasn't even trying to be funny. She was just like talking about herself,
Right.
but it was so real. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I
Very.
had a question on that too.
Okay.
If you're thinking about, shoot, let me see, let me give it a little range, maybe like 12
Mhm.
through college.
Mhm.
What was your experience growing up as a
So yeah,
yeah
because that's why her
church
story is
kid?
very relatable because as a church kid, you are like it is doubled down on it is like basically pushed on your throat. Do not have sex before marriage.
Mm,
You also, if you're in the because back then they didn't separate the kids from the adults when they were talking about adults things. Like nowadays it's like they really push like, hey, look, we're going to be talking about this stuff, so make sure your kids are in children's church, or make sure your kids are in the kids ministry. Don't bring your
mm-hmm,
kids in here today because we're talking about adult stuff. Back then they didn't do none of that. So so sitting there listening, when you hear the pastor saying, wives, your body belongs to your husband. So,
mm,
whenever he wants it, you need to give it to him. Where now,
mm,
as a grown adult, you're like, okay, that's not how it works. So our bodies belong to each other, but
mm-hmm,
but your husband should have some kind of compassion and be empathetic to you regarding, okay, maybe something's wrong with you, because what if you are physically not able to, like if you're in a lot of pain, we're women, if you're a lot of you have a menstrual pain, or
mm,
if you have some kind of disease like POCS, which is polyovarian cystic disease syndrome. That can cause you to have a lot of abdomen and pelvic pain. So I
Mm.
mean, yeah. So that's what I heard. I heard a lot of that. I've seen a lot of that as far as as a wife, you just do everything. You do everything. Like that's why the word submission is so like negative now. It's like a curse word
Mm.
because submission was pushed down our throats growing up. If you're a wife, you're supposed to do everything for your husband. And I just heard a
Mm.
snippet of another podcast I was listening to the other day, and the host was interviewing someone, and the guest was saying that submission for her is doing everything for him, because she was like, what does submission mean to you? And she's like, oh, submission means doing whatever he needs, doing everything for him. If he
Mm.
needs iron his clothes, you iron them. If you need to do, I'm like, okay, to an extent, submission is being there for him and helping him, but it's not doing everything for him. I mean, he has to be a grown adult. I mean, are you tying his shoes when he says tie my
Yeah.
shoes? There has to be a cutoff point. I think sometimes it's either extreme submission or it's no submission. There's no middle ground, and the middle ground is respect. And
Mm-hmm.
but that's not being told. So yeah, so that's what I saw, and that's why her story was so relatable. That's why their story was so relatable when they were talking about from sex to to gender roles to parenting, to having money to not having money. It to listening to your parents, watching your parents, watching other relatives in their marriages. So that's why it was really relatable to me, and that's why I was like, yeah, girl, I remember that growing up too.
Mm. Mm.
Especially when he had said when Kev had somebody that whenever he saw her put on that Sears nightgown, I hollered, because I remember being told, you need to go down to JC Penney. Go down to JC Penney's. She mentioned Fredricks of Hollywood. If anybody remembers Fredricks of Hollywood,
Yeah,
Fredricks of
yeah,
Hollywood
yeah.
was around when Victoria's Secret was around. And so Fredricks of Hollywood was like more risque. Like, hey, it is
Mm.
nothing like, there's a whole bunch of risque stuff then. But back in the day, in the 90s, Fredricks of Hollywood was like the place to go if you wanted to like go past JC Penney or Hex or Macy's or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he got excited, of her seeing that Sears nightgown on, I was like,
Yeah,
what?
dig.
That's what I did. I remember going down to Sears and JC Penney's when I was married and trying to get that satin, satin nightgown that the satin nightgown that Jazz and God wore on Harlem Nights. You want
Yes.
that's about as risque as you was gonna get, based on what you were told. So yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately we were brainwashed. I wouldn't say, yeah, let's be real, we were brainwashed when it comes to
Mm.
what the role of a wife was supposed to be and what she was supposed to do, and what the role of a husband was supposed to do and what he was supposed to be in a marriage, in a very healthy, successful marriage. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember growing up, and it seemed like for children, everything was either you're going to hell
Right.
or don't do sex, don't do the sex because you're going to hell, basically.
Yeah.
So just everything was about keeping you from burning from hell. And
Right.
if your parents ever wanted you to do stuff, now my parents, I got to give it up to them. They tried to be like more balanced, but they are they're one part of the whole environment of oppressive, crazy thoughts in
Right.
church life.
Right.
So I remember, but what I do remember was we had one Sabbath school class. For that's for the SDAs. Y'all know about Sabbath school class. Sunday school, Sabbath school, same thing. We had one class where we had a teacher who actually told us like real stuff. It was a lady, and she was just so open. Like that one class, I felt like I was like, yo, I've been missing class. What's y'all? She was like coming. She's like, listen, man. I just want to tell y'all, I understand the struggles that y'all be having. I know the reality of the life that you be living. She says, I hear y'all talking, and I know you know what's up. And she's and she pointed at a couple of the girls, and she was like, "Y'all think I don't hear you? But I
Right.
remember hearing you talking about, yeah, he made me moist, he made me wet." I was like, what's happening right now? I didn't even know at that time. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even know what it was. But the girls were like, the reaction. I was like, oh, that's something. Oh man,
Right.
make my note. What is wet? What is moist? What is that? I want to go do my research later.
Right.
We didn't have Google wasn't out like that. But I remember that. I remember the whole idea of anytime, any set, any scene in any movie, my parents was like, all right, go up. They thought, at first, when Coming to America came out, they thought, oh, this is Eddie Murphy. This is gonna be fun. This is cool. And 2 minutes in, they was washing the royal penises clean, Your Highness. And my dad was like, oh, okay, out. I was like, no, come on, man, out, sir. Get yourself out. Well, that's what we do. They would have us wait in the room, and then we could come back in when it was like safe. And then if
Right.
they said something was happening, all right, back to the room and come and say, I was like, oh my God, bro.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, that was it. That was it, man. And Melissa, she done did self. She was talking about a couple of things where she excused herself out of the room for
Right.
scenes and stuff. So yeah, that was. I loved it. I loved it. I was like, yeah, boy, this was that life, man. I was not alone in these experiences.
Right.
Shoot.
Right. Right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, uh. Um, let's see. Where can we go with this next? I think they did a good job of championing marriage as a team.
They did. They did.
I
They
felt
did.
like that was a really good, like whenever they were talking about, an issue, they always kind of brought it back to the idea of what's best for the marriage as a whole, right? It was like very good at driving in that point. Like, yo, might have felt this way, and you might feel this way, and maybe even the result. How do you say it's not really resolved because we still have it's almost like agree to disagree, but
Right.
in marriage you kind of got to go farther than that. But even
Right.
yeah, so I guess when they would get to the point where if you're just doing it civilly, it would be agree to disagree. You go that way, I go that way. Because they were in a marriage, they're like, okay, even though I feel like we're at a standstill, we have to kind of kick it up to that next notch to say, well, what's going to be better for the relationship as a whole? I thought they did a
Exactly.
really good job at like pushing that sort of envelope,
Right.
or not pushing the envelope, but like driving the people's thoughts to go
Right.
that way on a
Right.
regular, man. Because in society right now, I
Right.
mean, there's so much. Everything is relative, or you might feel this way, but I'm a feel this way. There's a dude. What was that show? Actually, on the Kev on Stage app, they have like all these different other shows, and it was this one show called. Oh no, it was a same comedians but a different network. Anyway, the show was something called like Bad Advice, and they were talking about. We had talked about this a while ago too. Monogamy versus polyamory
Yeah.
or open relationships, and they talked about like all the different versions, and almost every person in that, all the people on the panel, they were all in open relationships. They all had various versions of it, and the
Wow.
reasons were like, well, it's so bad. There's no way to combat it. So we're just going to figure out some other arrangement where we don't have to feel as bad about this break and violation of the relationship. It's kind of like a preemptive, I don't know, feeling protectors. Like, yeah, we'll I know you're going to cheat, so let's just go ahead and set some regulations on the cheating so that we don't have to worry about it. So now it's not cheating anymore. Basically, it's just the arrangement that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Versus what we see in the book where they're like,
Right.
nah, man, we are going to dedicate ourselves to this relationship,
Right.
and we're never going to settle for you feel that way, I feel this way, and we leave it at that.
Right.
So,
Right.
what you want to
That's
say, man? I've been talking for a minute.
no, I was gonna say because they made sure that in the beginning of their marriage they were not going to get divorced. Like they were not going
Mm,
to throw divorce around, like just just and say it. So they didn't say it. So even though they thought about it, they didn't say it. And I thought that was very important. That if you didn't want, if you did if you didn't want,
hey,
um, uh oh God, I just lost my train of thought. If you did, if that they made it a point to say no to divorce, like we're going to work through
yeah,
whatever we're working through. And I think what else is really important to point out is that they've been together since they were like 16 years old. So they had to grow up.
yeah, that's true.
They had to grow up as individuals and grow up as being married. So they were together and then they got married when they were in college. And so
Yeah,
to grow up and then to try to find out who you are as an individual, as a person, and then also try to figure out who you are as a spouse, you know,
hmm
that's a lot. And so the fact that they said, we're not going to call it quits just because we hit some hard times, because they had, I think the good point to point out is that they had really good examples. So
yeah.
his parents and then her parents, even though
Mm,
when you listen to it,
things
you'll
happen.
you'll find out some other things about what happened with that. But for the majority of her life and the majority of his life, their parents had great. Their parents lasted for a very long time. No, Kevin's parents are still together. So
hmm
um, they had a really good template of what it means to stay together. We're not going to give up on this, because at the end of the day, you divorced me, you're going to go into another situation with somebody else, and you're going to have disappointments and disagreements at the same time. Now,
Feeling the same way.
not to say that all marriages need to stay, because I was thinking about this
Right.
other day when they say till death do you part, or no, when the marriage vow, whatever what God has put together, let no man put
No
asunder.
man put asunder.
And I remember that Dr.
Y'all
Miles
know that word
Monroe,
asunder.
yeah,
hmm
I remember Dr. Miles Monroe, God rest his soul. He said,
Mm.
he said in one of his seminars, he said, that does not apply to every marriage, because God
Mm.
didn't put all y'all together. And I was like,
Woo!
God did not put all of y'all together. So
Wow.
why are you trying to stay? He said, God hates divorce, not the person. So why are you trying to
True.
stay in a situation that God didn't put together? Because
Dang.
we put ourselves, when it comes to relationships and marriages, we put ourselves in a lot of situations and a lot of marriages that was never God blessed.
hmm
Was never
Yo,
God,
that
and
that
never
remi-
good.
that reminds
So
me of Pastor Mildred last week. She was like, "Why are you gonna go into marriage with the person you're in a relationship with
right,
that's it's already not working for you? Like,
right, right,
come on now, stop it, stop it." Yeah,
right,
a lot of times people do be trying to put themselves into situations where, yeah, I could fix him, I could fix her, um, or you get the people that try to use the religious, God done told me that we're
right,
supposed to be together. Oh, word, well,
right,
because God didn't say anything to me.
right,
I don't know why he would only
right,
talk to you and not to me.
right, right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So
man.
yep. All right. So what's next about this book? I know when I was listening to it, I changed the names of, I changed the titles of some chapters. So like chapter 1 was called Sex Expectations, and I called it Sexual Expectations from a Church Girl and Boy. And then
Mm,
chapter 2 was Communication Be Hard, and I said communication like an adult be hard, like because you can communicate like a child.
right,
So,
right, right. You got
right,
all kinds of body language and
Right.
leakage coming through. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then chapter 3 was sex be hard. And I put bad advice from the church be hard.
Ah, that's
I,
facts.
right. And another chapter 6 was fidelity be hard. And I put monogamy be crazy hard. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure the way when you listen to it, when you read this book, all you people who are listening and watching, you'll end up, relating to it in a way that that you may be able to change. Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, this is what this chapter is saying to me. Because yeah, when I was listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Definitely.
That's what this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the elements that made it so good is like the fact that they're not telling us new information that's like groundbreaking that hasn't been out there, but the way that they use anecdotes or they use their inner monologue of how they were thinking about a particular thing, and then how they kind of show both sides. Like they'll take one situation and Melissa will start off, this is how I felt, and kind of run down how she saw the situation, and then right after Kev comes in and while the whole time while she was doing that, I didn't know that she was feeling that way. From my thought, I was thinking XYZ. And they go through and they give you that story, they give you the context. And I think the context is really what helped me understand the use of that information that we all know. Because there's like things that we've all heard about. Yeah, communication is key. And it is I'll give you one example. So they were talking about fidelity, right? And Melissa talked about one situation where she was like, yo Kev, yo you need to chill here, bro. And after they went through both of their sides of that situation, she said something to the effect of, I know this is sort of like the cliche part where everybody says your communication is key. It's what makes the relationship go. But she was like, no, but you got to really do that, because what's going to happen is something that seems innocent will grow and grow and grow. And if you don't talk about it, if you don't nip it in the bud, if you don't communicate your feelings and your perspective, then you are seriously in danger of possibly losing your partner. Exactly. Something just slips out of your hands that could have been avoided, and then it gets so big because you didn't communicate, or because you thought you had it under control, but really it was bigger than you may have initially perceived it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I thought a good point from that chapter was the fact that you think that like you're not going to be attracted to anybody else. I think I know we talked about that before on another podcast, but I know I had wrote down from that just thinking about from that chapter 6 was I wrote down attractive versus attracted. So like that story that you were talking about, how he was like, look, you need to pump the brakes on this young lady who is taking things too far. I think sometimes you can find someone attractive, but you have to make sure that you don't let it go to a point where you become attracted to them. And I think in that situation that even though, because he said that it was a young lady who he liked. I think that was like really.
Oh yeah, that was.
It was somebody that he had liked really, really bad for. He had really bad for before Melissa in high school, and she never gave him a time of day. But now it was like, and that's how it is. You have to be careful sometimes when, as men, especially, your ego gets stroked that this woman that didn't give you any time of day before, but now that you're married, you're like very attractive now. Men, you become very attractive.
Why is that, man? Please break it down. Because I always wanted to get that.
It's like this. If a woman thinks, some women will think, you're not, you're beneath me, or you're not good enough for me. But then another woman who maybe they think is on the same level as them gets with you, and like, oh, what did she see in him that I didn't see? Let me find out. And so it's one of those things that you don't know, you don't know what you miss, what you pass up until someone else gets it. And now you're like, well, she must see something that I don't see. Or because for some reason, this is what women do. If women get with the man who doesn't know how to dress, who, he wasn't living his life in this certain kind of way before, and then you get with this man, and then you help him out, and now the swag that he didn't have before, and now he has it. It becomes very attractive to other women because they're like, oh,
you helped him become
you
more
helped
attractive to others.
Now he's more attractive, and now the swarm of thoughts are coming after him, and a man has to recognize that and say, wait a minute, you know what? I'm like this because she helped me get this way. It was already in me, but I didn't know how to tap into it. And now that she is here to help me, she's helped me to tap into something that I didn't see in myself. So you don't go throw away, like Steve Harvey said, you don't give up the 80% for the 20%. Just because this 20%, I wouldn't even say 20%. You don't give up the 95% for the 5%.
Right.
That's what I say, because it ain't no 20%. That means, that's like, what am I doing? No, you don't give up
that's true, man.
Yeah, you don't give it the 95% for 5%. And I say 95% because no woman is perfect. No person is perfect. So there's room for error. And that, to me, I think that 5% is that room for error. And sometimes when there's disappointment, that's the room for error. And now you're looking at that 5% that your wife is not giving you. And you're like, oh, I can go over there to that. No, you still have 95% over here. You don't just jump ship, because now you're getting this attention. So I thought that was very important. That was a very, very important chapter. So I agree with you on that.
Another thing that I liked about this book, that they would take situations that everybody probably experiences, but when they share like some of the ways that they went through it, it helps you think about like, man, I never thought about this aspect of this. Like they were talking about, and I want to ask you this question too. They were talking about, okay, before we even get to the point where somebody could be cheating, let's talk about our like triggers, sort of. Like Carol, hold on, let me put this. Carol didn't said it. That's right. That 5% is toxic. That's right. They talked about those triggers, and they're like, this is the type of man that could potentially get me to think about going out of this relationship and gravitating towards them. Or this is the type of woman that would possibly get me. So I'm wondering, let's say that you're married, or if you even get, when you get into a serious relationship, it's like, oh yeah, I think this is headed this way. What are some of the, well, I guess it really needs to be married. So let's say you're married.
Right.
What are some of those characteristics for you that you'd be like, nah, bro, nah.
You talking about
go to that? Yeah, for you. Like, what would
trigger for somebody else?
No, like for you, like if you're married, right? But you're like, these are the characteristics,
right? That would trigger me.
I gotta stay away from that one, because those are looking real tasty and tantalizing.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
I would say what would be a trigger for me. How would I'll speak in past tense. I would say before, because I can't say now, only because I've learned so much about myself and about marriage and stuff, that I would make sure that I did not allow myself to be tempted. I would say that the temptation is there.
Got you. Okay. Yeah.
But I can tell you, I would say a trigger for me would have been like, it's always this happened, so because like that. So a trigger would be if something is not happening right at home, or like if I wasn't being seen at home, if I wasn't being heard, if I wasn't being appreciated, a trigger would be a man who sees me, who appreciates me, who gives me the attention that I've been wanting at home, and then a man gives it to me. Then that could be a trigger. That could be like, oh, wait a minute, like, oh, wait a minute, this is good. I think you have to check yourself and say, okay, if you start feeling excited about seeing somebody,
yeah, there it is.
if you start feeling excited about seeing this person because because it usually happens. Infidelity usually happens. I would say it usually happens when there's been a tiff in the house. There's been an ongoing thing happening at home, and then you go to work, or for real, you at church. Let's be for real. You're at work, or you're at church, or you're somewhere else where another person starts tapping in or tapping into what you're not getting at home. And they talked about this, and that's like one of those emotional type affairs. People don't think about it, but you can get emotionally attached to somebody. So if I'm lacking at home, if you're giving that to me in a non-sexual way, it can turn me on. It will turn me on. Oh, okay. And it will make me think about you more than I should be. Waiting for your text, just like in that whole story, he won't text her, and one day she was like, oh, I don't get no good morning text today. Like, wait a minute,
Lord,
I don't get no good morning text today. Like, stuff like that.
You getting expectation stuff? Yeah,
right. So I would say those would be triggers. Like anything that I was not getting at home, and I told someone else about it, and then now they're doing it. Because it's not like someone's gonna automatically know that I'm having an argument. You have to open up the gate for somebody to come in by telling somebody what's going on in your marriage, which is something that you shouldn't do anyway, because everything that goes on in your relationship should be between you, God, and your person, not nobody else.
Don't be telling your stuff out there.
Right. That's how emotional affairs happen.
Those are hooks, just waving.
Yeah, that's how those emotional affairs happen. Right.
Okay. Oh man, Carolyn said this is what gonna get her a good clean smelling man.
Oh my God.
With the lover. Yeah, are you okay? Are you okay where you are right now? Hopefully one of these men has not walked by. See.
And I think that's a trigger to me. I still think those are triggers if you're not getting it at home. Like, if something is not right at home, that could be a trigger. If everything is going well at home and you're communicating and everything is going right, then I don't think those things that used to trigger you they would be so deep down, like just all the way down, that it would be hard. A lot of things would have to happen before they get up to here. They're like really all the way down, like deep down. It would take a lot for it to rise up. And I think that's how it should be. And as soon as you start noticing it, you need to check it so you can put it right back down. So it won't go no further,
Don't even entertain it. Just if it's on a conveyor belt, just let it keep going by. Just keep on letting it go.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, man. I remember. Okay, so I was thinking about this, and I think I'm kind of in the same realm with you. Like I don't think there's really a specific like thing, because this gonna sound conceited, but it's not. Let me say it like this. Because I am a pastor, that's why I believe it is happening. I get a lot of compliments all the time from people.
Oh yeah.
Because
you know why?
They just
because
appreciate.
You're a pastor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I'm a pastor, and it's almost more like what I represent than maybe me actually.
It's the power. It's the power.
It's if I do give something, somebody appreciates and they like it. So I do get a lot of compliments from people all the time. My church has more older ladies than younger ladies, so maybe that's so. Yeah, but if there was like a bunch of ladies that was like maybe around my age or things like that, then that might be something I would have to kind of be out for. But I'm not against. I can forearm a 60-year-old. I ain't tripping, bro. I'm like, hallelujah, praise his name. But I was thinking about it. The one area where it may be because I'm in an interracial relationship, there are
Right.
some things that Black women may
Mm-hmm.
understand about Black men that
Mm-hmm.
is different than the dynamic that my wife and I have, just because growing up in different cultures, there's some things that's got to either be more verbalized so that you can know it.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
like for my wife, there may be things that Korean men could offer to her
Right.
because
Right.
culturally
Right.
they would connect on that level that I don't get. You know,
Right.
so maybe something in that realm. You know, because I have my social media, it's all kinds of Black love and Black women. This is how we keep our men. Blah blah blah. And I'll be listening to them things, and I'm like, yo, that sounds good though. Yeah, I
I
like
want a
those
little bit of
things.
that.
You know, yes, that's pretty good. And it's not so much that my wife doesn't do that. It's just when you see a Black woman having that sort of appreciation for a Black man,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like got another level to it. You know what I'm saying? So that is something that, if it started to have, it hasn't, I haven't even, it hasn't even, it hasn't even
Right.
entered my world. But
Right.
if something like that started to happen, where there was like a girl, a woman that was that's Black, and we're identifying on stuff and vibing really well, I would
Right.
probably have to check that right away and be like, all right,
Right.
okay, yeah, this person's funny. Let's just keep it at humor. All right, now later,
Exactly.
and
Right.
just
Goodbye.
keep it moving like that.
Right. To
Yeah.
thine own self be true.
You're right.
Oh, what's up? I watch and fan myself like, Lord, please remove this hunk of burning love from my side.
And he'll do it. He'll do it if
He'll
you
do
really
it.
mean it. You did.
You know, walk away. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
One thing I know as a woman, a good smelling man.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with her. A good smelling man. Oh man, especially if it's a scent that you like. Like I love mahogany sandalwood type and mahogany
All
sandalwood.
right, y'all
Vanilla.
take your notes. Take your
That
notes. Where you at?
mahogany, it's those little notes of mahogany and sandalwood and
Mm-hmm.
vanilla
Mm-hmm.
together. It smells so good to the point where I went to Bath and Body Works and I bought.
For yourself.
Well, they have the wallflowers, the air freshener scents that go on the
Oh
club.
yeah. Uh-huh.
That's what I have. So I'm single. I come home and it smells like a man when I walk in my house.
Dang, there you
Ooh,
go, ladies.
it smells like a man. But
Pro tip.
I love the way that smells in a man. And also, like, now
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm a coconut pineapple type person as far as scents and stuff. But for a man, I really love that smell. It smells so good. So of course, if you're a man at home and all he smell like is
Some
all he smell
gym
like is
socks.
fried chicken and chitlins and oil. If he just smell like work or whatever, and you're like trying to get him to
Carolyn is
freshen
having
up
a
and
whole
start wearing some
thing.
stuff. Chris White shirt with paisley tie. Oh my gosh, girl, you got some triggers. But
do I need to give y'all a moment?
right.
Yeah.
So, but if you're trying to get him to open up and smell good, and then he's like really resisting on it.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a trigger. That could be a really small little inkling of trigger when you go out and then you smell a guy who you want your husband to smell like, and he's not doing it. You have to check yourself and say, wait a minute, my husband don't smell like that yet, but he will. Just don't nag him about it. Just say,
attack him.
Right. Yeah. Just say, hey, baby, I love the way you smell like this. When you smell like this, it just makes all my insides start to, do
There
these
you
things.
go.
You got to speak to
Bolster him
the heart.
up a bit.
Right. Speak to the heart of a
Pop
man.
him
And his
up.
heart is not up here. It's down below. So you speak to the heart of a man down there. Don't go messing with that forbidden fruit. I know that's right.
That's right.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah. I think I said this before one time, but we had this guy when I was still in school, man, in divinity school. This guy came to our class. I love it when people talk real like this. He said, "Men, there's 1,000 vaginas with your name on it.
Woo.
Women, there's 1,000 penises with your name on it.
Right.
You better get right by yourself now because when that time comes, and and he's talking to us, we were all students at that point, so none of us had like
Okay.
positions or
Okay.
anything. But he's like,
Right.
it's coming, and when you
Right.
get there, this is real. You think you don't have to deal with this because you in the church? Let me tell you right now, you are going to
Right.
deal with this. If you're married, don't let no. He was telling the guys too. He was like, don't let any woman talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
and don't say something to your wife, especially if your wife
Right.
is standing right there. He says for
Right.
him, he would call the girl back if she left. He'd call her back and be like, "You don't see my wife right here? You better talk to my wife." I was like, "Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Let me note that right now." Thank God,
You,
I've
you
always
know,
had
right.
good experiences. Very respectful church
That's
members. Ain't
right.
nothing like been happening. So yeah.
That's funny you said that real quick. My pastor's wife, she said this, and she said that what she does to make sure that he reels it in, because sometimes a pastor can be so charming that he doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
realize that he's giving off
Mm.
something to one of his parishioners, as you will, his members, his congregation,
Mm-hmm.
that could signal something for someone who's broken. So a woman,
Mm.
if you have a line, like we have a line at church, and the after the service, he goes out in the lobby,
Just
and people can come up and talk to him and say, "Hey, that was great," blah blah blah. She said
yeah.
if she's standing off to the side, because people come and talk to her too, and he
Yeah.
notices that he's been talking to this one particular lady too long,
Yeah.
she'll walk over and put her hand at the small part of his back, and that's an
Uh-huh.
indicator that, oh,
It's
okay,
like,
so
hey,
so
hey,
and so, it
bro.
was nice meeting you. It's time for me to go.
Yeah,
All right, I'll
yeah.
see you next time. Because some women are broken to the point where they will misread your sign of kindness and
Mm,
thinking it's you wanting to be with them. And so, and
mercy.
that's and it doesn't mean that they're bad women. It just means like there's something that happened to them growing up
Mm-hmm.
that has not been fixed. And so anytime a man shows any kind of kindness to them, they automatically think, oh, he wants me. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. They could have been,
That's not what's
not just
going
a
on.
side note, they could have been molested or whatever. Something
Mm,
happened to them. And every time that they got molested, right before the molestation happened, that man was kind to them. So
mercy.
there's a
Wow, yeah.
confusion. So that's a whole
Mm-hmm.
other episode, but that's just
Right.
let you know
That's
that
but that's true. Yeah.
some women, the signaling is off, and especially, and
Mm-hmm.
so for pastors and any men in power and in position, they get those women who are like like a moth to a flame,
That's
like
the
a
way
moth to a
love goes.
flame.
Come on, using lyrics. Hey. Yeah.
Yay! So yeah,
Um, yeah. So switching gears a little bit, and
okay,
we can kind of wrap this up. But
okay.
unless you have some more. So the
No,
other
we can get to
element
your
that
things.
oh
Mhm.
huh
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
oh yeah, okay. 'Cause I was
Go
saying
ahead.
like another element that they talked about, like an area that I was like, oh man, this is really important to think about, is whatever's going on in your life. So couples are together,
Right,
serious relationship, marriage, and you are going through your individual life. So you've got your career, you've got whatever kind of hobbies, and whatever your interests are that you are probably pouring a whole bunch of your time into.
right,
And like they talked about how during the pandemic they realized that they were actually kind of growing apart, because
right,
that was, they had been doing so much stuff in their lives, and now that they had all this time together, they had, Melissa had pointed to some things, Kev talked about some things that happened during that time frame, and they were realizing that they were growing apart. And it made me think about is, yeah, if you're in a relationship and you don't do the things, if you don't like kind of if you're not intentional about checking in with your partner, you can literally be living together and growing apart at the same time. And it
right.
can be
Yeah,
actually very serious to the point, maybe not like
right,
where it's going to break off your relationship, but like where you have serious strain that it's going to take a hard part. Like you could be this far apart and not paying attention, and it slips all the way to this far apart. So to get back, it's like way more work than if you would have kind of been more in tune with it. And that
Right.
hit me too, because I say, man, I wonder, and I know that there have been times in my relationship with my wife that I have been focused on some project or trying to get
Right.
something off the ground and putting
Right.
all my energy there, and there's been a neglect. So yeah, I thought that was a really important aspect to
Yeah.
think about as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
So
get the book,
what
y'all.
were your favorite things about? We can get to your favorite things. Um,
Oh yes, yes, yes. Oh, okay, yeah.
and
So
I'll just say
I
I agree with
uh-huh.
everything that's in the list. So they're gonna be my favorite things too.
Oh, okay, 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 cool, cool, cool.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and I'll just read the list down real quick. So, if
Okay.
y'all are going to get this book, here are
Yeah.
some elements about it that I
Right.
think are really awesome. First, the real life anecdotes are so relatable and down to earth. I mean, it is just, especially if as people who grew up poor, black, in
Right.
church.
Yeah.
If you're in the military, that's probably also another element of it.
Yeah.
But those, because they were so open and honest about these situations, they didn't like candy coat it or water it down. They're
Right.
really relatable, which makes it really helpful. I thought they were very transparent,
They were.
and that is so helpful in helping you understand because they'll go through and they'll tell you the story, then they'll tell you suggestions on how they think you can improve your situation or give you a solution.
Right.
And the solutions make more sense because they were actually very transparent about the
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
The attitude of teamwork.
Yeah.
I thought for the most part they were very good about telling each other's like, okay, here's where I went wrong. Here's where I fell short. Here's where I could have done better. Here's what I needed from my partner. They were both very good about letting you see those aspects, which can help you as you're trying to evaluate your relationship. They have this thing at the end of each chapter called relationship check-ins. It's like these
Yes.
these
That was my favorite part.
questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that's something everybody can apply like
Right.
right away.
Right.
You're thinking, and they're kind of like specific to the subject that they're talking about.
Right.
So those are good um,
Right.
prompts, thing like conversation starters that
Right.
will probably lead to uh, what is it? Like a good discovery of what's
Right.
going on with your partner as you're redoing these. So the for the relationship check-in questions,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely good.
Right.
And because of all of that, basically,
Mm-hmm.
the book is definitely something that I would use to discuss with my wife.
Right.
I think it's one of those good couple that talking last week about good activities to do with your spouse to
Right.
keep
Right.
building in your relationship.
Right.
One of these books is
It's this
perfect.
one. Yep.
And if you get it audible, then it's even more
Right. You
fun
just
because you
pause it.
can listen to it. You ain't got to
Right.
sit there and read it.
Right.
And you could be listening to it, eating some popcorn, give your person a
Exactly.
massage. I
Just
mean, you get creative
be
with the whole
creative. You
experience.
can
You
have a
dig?
whole self-care night together where y'all like sitting down. You can have like a little picnic in your living room and you turn it on and y'all can like,
Mm-hmm.
do like give each other manicures because men need
Yeah.
manicures too and pedicures
Oh
and
yes.
and while also, taking care of your marriage and your relationship at the same time. So
Self care for
that's
self and self care for
self-care.
marriage. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was
Yeah.
really, 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 really good. I wanted to see if I can show it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Can you see it? I'm hoping to see if people can see it. So this is
Sorry. Sorry.
sorry. This is what
There we
the
go.
book looks like. If you can see it, that's what
Yeah.
you should be looking
That's the
for when you
cover.
go on to Amazon or when you go in the stores because they are in Target, Books a Million, Barnes and Nobles, wherever books are
Hey.
sold. This is from Audible, so it's right on
Mm-hmm.
your phone. If you're a person like I'd rather go ahead and listen to it on my phone. Get the Audible. Shoot, Audible.
Yeah.
If you never had Audible, they give you like free credits right away, and you
Dude,
get like
seriously.
right, and you get a trial. You can do a trial period, and then you can read the book for free. Kind of like I don't know, but hey, I'm
Facts.
just saying it's a really good book. I did have a quote today.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from I forgot which it was. I think it was the communication. It was from the communication chapter, which is chapter 2. Communication be hard. And so when I was listening to it, and she was talking about how basically she became really extra in her thinking in regards to like how she thought he was going to be doing certain things, and because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't communicate it to him, she automatically thought that he was going to know. We talked about that before, like we don't know what each other are thinking, we have to say it. And so
Right.
I said that also, even though we don't know what each other is thinking, I think it's very important to be in constant observation of your partner.
Yes.
Be in constant observation of your partner, because when you're in constant observation of your partner, even though you don't know what they're thinking, you can tell by their body language how they feel about something. So if I'm in constant observation of my partner, then whenever they get upset or they get mad, or when they're happy or anything, any kind of emotion, I've been basically reading them this whole
Mm-hmm.
time, and I can like get a little like sign. Oh, wait a minute, she didn't like that. Oh, wait a minute, he didn't like that. Or she like, oh, I see she like that when I do this, or he likes it when I do this. And so that means that way you can keep like a little mental note every time something is going on in your life, and it won't eliminate the disappointment. It won't eliminate the communication, falls or fails, but I think it will help alleviate the majority of them. If I
Mm-hmm.
stay in constant communication, I'm sorry, if I stay in constant observation of you and how you are as a person outside of being my spouse, then I will be able to understand you and how you move, in this life. And that will help better, understand what your needs are and what you need from me. But you do also, yes, you do need to say to your partner what you need, but it's really good. It's how that feeling when you go, oh, how do you know? And it's
Right.
because
I love that.
right. How did you know? Because I was listening, because I was watching you, because I was observing you. I took account into what was going on with you, and that's how I knew. Those are the best. How
Real
did
quick
you
story.
know? Go ahead.
There's one time. This
Okay.
before I was married. I was dating a girl though.
Okay.
And I had a other friend who was a good friend. I never thought about this girl any kind of way like that at all.
Right.
I needed to get picked up from the airport. She picked me up from the airport
Hmm.
and she was like, I got something for you. I was like, oh yeah, word? What is that? And she had got me. You remember the movie Brown Sugar?
Yeah.
She bought me. I don't know when I was talking about this, but I was talking about how the music on there was so dope.
Oh,
This girl
wow.
went and bought me the
The
soundtrack
soundtrack.
for Brown Sugar, and she was like,
Oh,
she gave it to
man.
me, and I'm telling you, I was dating somebody else. But at that moment, I was looking at her like, what?
Right.
How? This is a girl that I never thought
Right.
about like that at all.
Right.
But
Right.
man, the moment she did that, I was like, dude, am I with the right person?
Right.
Hold up. Hold up. So I can tell you from physical experience that
Right.
like if somebody is attentive to you, being
Yes.
attentive is
Yes.
attractive. Hands down.
Yep.
Can't fight that. Can't
Yep.
fight that. But
That's a
the
that's a
Lord
dope.
the Lord kept me. The Lord kept me. But
He did.
yeah.
He did. Which could be a trigger. That could be a trigger.
That's
So
right.
make
That's
sure
right. That's
when
right.
if that happens and you're married, like, wait a minute, thank you, but I'm married.
Yeah. Me and my wife are really gonna enjoy this
We're really gonna like this.
CD.
I'll make sure we give you a thank you note. I will be the
Yeah.
wife.
I'll have
Thank
my
you
wife.
for this.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for
I'll have
this.
my
We
wife send you
loved
a
it.
thank you note
We
for this.
enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
We in double
We
caps.
need. enjoyed it.
We enjoyed your gift.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah,
really
you're right,
good. Yeah.
Carol. You're right, Carol. I heated a fan for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That just really that made me think
No,
about
that's
that.
good. That was
Yeah,
really good. That's really good. That women listen. He's a man. He's a whole man. He's telling you be attentive to your man. And you know what? I think that's
yeah,
really good to say because a lot of women expect that, but
yeah.
they don't think to reciprocate that back to their man,
True.
or back to someone that they're with. So I think that's a very important thing is to reciprocate that. Just because you're a woman does not mean, doesn't negate you from being as romantic, I would say, or attentive or appreciative or observant to your man as well. So
Yeah.
we ladies gotta step our game up too. So yeah.
Yeah, the men they may not express it in the same way, but they definitely appreciate it. I don't
Right.
know unless that girl is watching this right now, she probably doesn't even know that I ever felt that way about that.
Right.
And leave it alone. It doesn't matter anymore, girl. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're done. We're done. Yeah. Where did you finish? I know I was like jumping in
No,
there,
I
but
was good. I was good.
okay. I did have one verse to share too.
Okay.
Um, Hebrews 10:24 and 25, it says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Let us not give up meeting together, or as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another all the more as you see the day approaching. And, I mean, what I loved about that verse is the idea of them taking the time to share their experience
Right.
helps others to hopefully have a more healthy or as healthy of an experience. And those are the things that we need to do in order to help each other make it through life. We can
Yeah.
share in ways that is like, man, my relationship was on the rocks, but I heard this thing in Kevin Melissa's book and I tried it and it really helped. It was really good. Or I was watching the Way Love Goes podcast, and some of the stuff y'all was saying, I've been trying it and it's been helping. You know,
Right.
um, yeah, yeah. So that's what I wanted to leave with y'all today.
That's right. If you don't,
Um,
someone else will. Absolutely.
us and
Absolutely.
Carol got all kinds of advice for you. If you happen to be a good smelling man with a lumberjack beard, uh,
Hit Carol
make
up.
your way on to Carol's Facebook page or YouTube or Instagram, or maybe don't. I don't know. Shoot, let me not make a
Right.
situation worse.
Right.
Yeah, God will guide you there if you are,
Yeah.
or He'll shave your beard before you get there. Whatever.
That's so funny.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Thank y'all so much for
Love and
joining us
blessings.
today for the Way Love Goes podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and tell everybody about it. Don't forget to visit our YouTube page. Our Instagram page.
Yes,
Way Love
yes.
Goes Pod, and we'll see you back next week
We'll see you back next week, baby.
because that's
Bye
the way
bye.
love
That's the way love goes.
goes.
Boom, ba-dum, boom. I wish we wouldn't get copywritten, man. I
I
would definitely
know.
put that at the end of every video. Okay,
I
sorry guys. That's
know.
production
Sorry.
talk. All right,
Bye.
right. Yeah. We love you too. We love you too. Peace,
Love
peace.
y'all. Bye, Carol.
Uh, do.